are up, we are live. I am feeling kind of dead, but whatever. So, last time we left off this project, we had, ooh, wow, my brain is a little bit fried. We had successfully built the Linux, we were building GCC, and that had finished. Let's see, cross tools, GCC. Yeah, there it is. Build Linux native. Hey, pointing device, how you doing this evening? Alright. So now we need to run the make install stat because this is what finished last time. So /clf install. Now, I don't know how long this is going to take. My birthday is... for me, it'll be here in 2 hours, so I don't know if I'm going to do something special tomorrow. I've been kind of mulling doing a live stream where I start writing a book. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it, but like I said, I want to get on the far end of this project first, and then that's probably something I'm going to be doing intermittently while I continue working on other projects. All right. Crash count is 0. Status updated. Well, we're currently installing GCC, and we're not actually building it. The build finished day before yesterday. I just haven't live streamed since then. So at this point, to see if this is actually going to work. I've had very mixed results with cross-compiling GCC in the past, but I also have learned a lot since the last time I've actually ever had to do this. So, in theory, this will give me a working compiler within the Linux system. And if we have that, that means... it means that we can build additional software. We already know we can netboot the system. I'm probably going to have to tackle Pixie Linux. I may or may not do that tonight. Today was a little bit of a hard day for me. Had to deal with some Greek government stuff and blah. On the plus side, the Greek authorities finally issued me a local amateur radio license. It wasn't what I expected. I actually expected to get a native license, which is what would have been SV3 something something something. As it turns out that while the United States is compliant with what's known as the SEP requirement, Greece doesn't recognize that as is, so I'm considered, but there is a treaty between the United States and Greece, so they issued me what's called an SV0 call sign, which is for foreigners that are residing in Greece for more than 3 months that have a foreign amateur radio license that is considered equivalent to the Greek advanced one. It has a few restrictions on it that are mostly not relevant, like I can't use it outside of Greece's territorial borders. So if I were to go elsewhere in Europe for like a weekend and I want to use my license, I'd actually still have to use my US call sign. The thing is, I can't use my US call sign here in Greece anymore because I'm past the limit of what you can do, how long you can, but it is what it is. So yeah, I had to wake up at god-awful o'clock this morning to go to government offices just to tell me that blah blah blah, I need other shit done. This is becoming a recurring theme. On the plus side, at least, hey, at least I'm gonna have my amateur rate. I don't know if I can use my license as is. I've got the receipt with the new call sign, but I might actually need the physical paper license in hand before I can do it. Most countries require that. The United States is an exception. So until I actually know for sure if I can operate with just the digital certificate, I'm not going to. If you're going to set up the that mini PC, are you going to use? If you want to use RDP, you're going to have to use X11. I had no success with using Wayland and RDP, and I found WAV and C to be just complete garbage. It was very laggy, very slow. So that's why my Raspberry Pi had its Wayland install disabled, and I went back to X and then manually installed XRDP. Older versions of the Pi basically support that out of the box, but Raspberry Pi config doesn't have the option for RDP anymore. And because titles in English should be capitalized like that. That is proper grammar. I mean, it's just how I write it. I guess it is a stylistic thing, but I just always ran titles in uppercase for the most part. Strictly speaking, I probably should capitalize the O and the F, but whatever. I'm just kind of vibing because I don't think I'll sleep, but I want to at least get a little work on this done. I'm still one live stream behind in my editing process because I got devlog 8 out yesterday, and I've got one stream there where we basically got the NetBoot system working, and then past that point, it's yeah, wow, tonight looks like it's gonna be a quiet stream, only 20 concurrents. Oh well. That or yeah, I'm on my main channel, so it's like, what, am I streaming on the wrong channel? That being said, I think I kind of reached the height of this project, which was actually getting the Linux kernel built, so like the rest of it is kind of I don't want to use the term dredge work, but it's kind of what it feels like. It's like one of those things where, you know, you've got 90% of a project done, but now you gotta take it to the finish line. Hey Nico, you're right here at the beginning, so that's good. So yeah, it's about 3 p.m. on what's today, Wednesday? Yeah, it's about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. It's about 10:20 p.m. here, so yay. So I guess low turnout isn't all that unexpected. Like, they're not all going to be winners, but we'll just got to see how much I can actually get done today. 420, nice. Yeah, I mean, the fact is that basic Linux systems are just becoming incredibly bloated. Like, part of it is that the modern internet itself has just become really bloated, which kind of sucks. We need, okay, Valtis, we need GCC, we need a couple of other support utilities like tar, XZ utilities. I need a few other ones that aren't normally built on a Linux from scratch system, like iNet utilities, because I'm going to need an FTP client. But I also need E2FS, and I need Parted. So those are kind of the what we should call the short list of stuff I actually need. Whether or not we will get that far today is slightly open question, because this is just going to take a while. I would think about doing script writing right now, but I am a literal potato. I think, yeah, I mean, and I have a paper coming up week after next, so I have a fair bit more to do. Yeah, I mean, part of it is that the Java programming ecosystem is absolutely asinine, which isn't specifically the problem with one person. The problem is that like, let me put it like this. When you build an application in React, you have to include all the React. Also, I'm hoping my mic sounds decent. I moved the stand, so hopefully I'd get less echo. Like, imagine you're building a web application in React. The website has to serve a copy of React with every part of your web application. But there's no central repository for JavaScript client side. Like, there is local caching that happens. My voice needs a bit more volume. My voice is my passport. Verify me. How's that? I actually turn my mic down fairly low when I do record voiceovers because this room has an echo. And I really hate having the echo in recorded voiceovers. So what I do is I turn the mic almost to its lowest setting, and then I fix it post-processing. It has the unfortunate side effect of making my voice a little crunchy. But as compared to the echo that you actually get, like, since I moved the mic, I don't think it's as bad. Yep. Well, great kicks. It only crashes intermittently. Like, it's not going to guarantee to do it every time, and as long as I don't run it with, like, maxed out CPU load, it seems to be stable. Like, I haven't rebooted the VM since the last stream. It's just stayed up. So, yeah. Yeah. It's good to see you here, NeoZed. Honestly, this feels like a project right out of your playbook. Although you whenever you build Linux, you use, like, Linux 1.0 or 1.0 or 0.99. Me, I'm sitting here doing it with modern versions. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't done it every time. Like, it literally went weeks between crashing, and I had been building like that right along through. Unfortunately, GCC itself just chugs. It's not as bad as glibc, but it's definitely not one of the faster build processes. Let me see if I can see where we are. Oh yeah, it's about to start moving again. Yeah. No, I'm aware of the blanket overhead trick, but if I'm sitting here at my desk for 6 hours, it's like, I don't really want to do that. I might end up doing it. I think I'll probably end up moving my office from where it is now down. There's a sub-basement here, and it's also a heat shelter for use in summer because it gets toasty here in Greece, like really toasty. So when I was here 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago? No, it had been a year ago. Time has become a very relative thing for me. It was the middle of summer, and I was like, pfft, and this room has no air conditioning, so there's that. Ryan, I'm not building any specific distro. I'm just kind of building it from scratch. And speaking of pirate radio, Kostis, I just got my amateur radio call sign from the Greek, from, what is it? GCC. So I have to figure out what the Greek law is in terms of what I can and can't do with it. In the United States, the non-commercial aspect actually applies to just what you transmit over air. Like, live streaming yourself is not a problem with that. I looked at the Greek government gazette on the they have an entire publication on this, and it's incredibly vague. So yeah, I just sent my my paperwork in to join RAG, which is the Greek Amateur Radio Association. So maybe I'll be able to get an answer to that. Yeah, there was the application number I got was 19 that came back out of the system. From what I understand, Greece actually, so amateur radio call signs are broken into two parts. It's got a prefix and a suffix. So the prefix for Greece is Sierra, Victor, and then a number, which can be 0 through 9. 1 through 9 are the states, and 0 are for foreigners who are living in Greece who do not come from another European country. But their license is good. Yeah, Kostas, the thing that I've been trying to figure out is, can I make YouTube content with a Greek amateur radio license? With a US license, that wasn't a problem. But conversely, a Canadian license, just as an example, would not allow it. I don't trust a Google translation of Greek law because, well, it's Google Translate. A, and B, the only reference I could see to it is a single sentence at the end of the first page just saying no personal gain. But, you know, I don't know if if it only applies to when you're transmitting on air, or if it's as broadly defined as I couldn't write a book about amateur radio. I mean, I don't think it would be that far. No, Kostas, well, yeah, Sierra Yankee would be novice license. Sierra Victor would be advanced license. I have a U.S. amateur extra license. I had to upgrade it, which was what I was doing in January when I had spare time, which on this internet, I upgraded the internet connection here. It was a lot worse before I coughed up money for that. So holding a web call over Zoom to the U.S. to sit the U.S. amateur radio license was nerve-wracking, not because of the exam, but because if the internet had quit and the video feed had died, it would have invalidated my examination. So, and the amateur extra exam in the United States it's essentially equivalent to an EE final. It is not an easy exam, and I flunked it the first time. I missed it by 2 questions. Second time, I think I got 80%, so I did pass it. And then after the FCC issued me the license upgrade, I was able to, I was able to apply, and then gov.gr broke on me because obviously, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I would interpret the statute, but you know, it would be the stupidest way to lose an amateur radio license, and I don't particularly want to piss off the Greek authorities. Like, no. So yeah, I did get an SV0 call sign because despite the fact that the United States participates in SEPT, it's not actually a SEPT nation. So Greece actually defaults to, there's a very old treaty involving this and Greece. It actually predates. Oh, NeoZ, thank you for the $5 tip. I'm sorry, I missed that. So, I don't actually know. Well, here's the thing is I was looking on QRZ about this, and I found one other SV0 profile, and it was a German. And I couldn't figure this one out because a German amateur or a licensed German operator should have gotten an SV, a regular SV call sign, not the foreigner call sign. The biggest problem with the foreigner call sign is it has a specific restriction on it that I can't use it outside of Greece, which isn't really a big deal because I'll pay the $35 to keep my U.S. license active. There's no reason not to. And if I ever return to the United States, the way that it works in the United States for foreign operators is that if your country has a reciprocity agreement with the United States, you can basically use your foreign call sign. I don't know if there's a time limit. I've never heard of that because I've heard some people using foreign call signs for a very long time. But if you are an American citizen, you cannot operate in the United States on a foreign license. This is actually kind of a pain for some Canadians. So they have to have both a Canadian and an FCC issued call sign. In my case, I got an SV0, but Rag says says that SEP nations would have given me an SV. It would have been SV3 because I'm in the Peloponnese. And the document from the Greek government seems to agree with that SEP nations would receive normal Greek call signs. I haven't figured out if I'm not sure if the receipt that I got with the call sign in and of itself is my ability to operate, or if I actually have to get the paper certificate. And I haven't quite figured out where I have to go to get said paper certificate. I probably actually have to go to the capital. I probably have to go to the capital of Arcadia, which will be a fun day trip. I did send an email back. I also haven't figured out if I have to put a regional prefix on it, because the way, from what I read of the Greek operator regs, when you're in your home region, you just use your call sign. No, I'm in region 3. I'm in region 3. The way I read the regs for how Greek call signs operate is that when you're in your home region, you just use it as is, or you put /A if you're in an alternate area within the same geographic zone. But if you're outside your zone, then you're supposed to prefix it SV whatever / your call sign. But foreigner call signs don't have a geographic restriction. They're just issued to any foreigner that's living within Greece. So I don't know if I would have to operate as SV3 / SV0 or not. So regardless, it's a unicorn of a call sign, so I'm probably going to be really popular on HF. Oh, yes, no, yeah, it's ITU Region 1, so the band plan is a little different from what I'm used to. It's actually kind of interesting. There's publications on US hams frequency allocation, and the FCC actually has specific bands that are specific allocations can only be used in Region 1 and 3, because the US has a small bit of territory in Region 3, and there's a bunch of U.S. military amateur radio stations in Region 1. There's actually a specific call sign for U.S. foreign troops that are operating in Germany. Yeah, I sent an email asking about that, but I also coughed up my register. Oh, cool! That just finished installing. So in theory, we should have a working copy of GCC. Oh yeah, this is still up. Cool. So do I? Okay, chat, check that out. We actually do have GCC. So let's see if it works. Oh right, I don't have VI. So fortunately, this is an NFS mount, so I can do this. The $1 million question is that actually going to work? Read-only file system. I don't have a mount command. Why is it read-only? Oh, I know why it's read-only. I have to reboot it. But before I reboot it, I actually have to go in here. I have to add that. So let me hit reboot. Right, I don't have a reboot command either. Some assembly required is what this is. So let me hit action, reset. And then that's going to cause this disconnect. So now we just restart session. And we wait for it to boot up. I don't touch leaked source code, so there's that. So, alright, so cat hello.c. Oh, that's a problem. I don't have strace. Pretty sure I don't have strace. Yeah, I don't have strace. I'm going to need strace if I'm going to figure out why that just blew up. I do have CC1, but it's obviously not where It wants... Okay, let's figure out what happened here. Why don't I have CC1? Okay, so that's going to take a bit of time. Yeah, Costas, I definitely, I've had some problem when I did operate briefly on my US call sign while I still could, because I could do that for the first 90 days I was here. I wasn't able to hear anything in Greece because my skip zone is too large, but I did pick up a vertical antenna, and if nothing else, if I try if 80 meters should go straight up and come back down. That's usually how 80 meters works. 40 is more likely to cause me to go DX. Yeah, I don't have any vintage computers right now, so I don't know why it is looking for CC1 there. Hold on, can I dump specs? Where are you looking for your brain, GCC? Wait, I just realized what I can do. And also, let me, hold on, let me get my notes file up because I'm going to have to note this. Hold on, I actually need to clean up my notes a little bit. Alright, let's figure out why. I think if I run it with in verbose mode, it will tell me where it's looking for CC1. Is it just looking in the path? Because that's kind of what it seems like it's doing. Alright. Where does it tell me that CC1 is? It's in... Oh, it's not there. Oh, I'm in the wrong directory. Hold on. Okay. Oh, hold on. Export LD library path. Okay, that kind of implies that some of the files that should be there are not. Fatal error NDN.h is not there. So is endian.h part of the Linux kernel or not? Because that could imply I have effed up the kernel install. Endian.h. I'm just trying to figure out where that file actually comes from. Because I'm currently looking at Ubuntu. Ubuntu says the file is not actually there. Search within file names. Yeah, it's... The hell? Do I have it in the top level directory? Yeah, I do. Hold on. This is in... Include fixed. It should not actually be doing this. Oh, it's doing something. Yes! We have a working cross compile. We successfully crossed GCC. Nice. Nice. Oh, that is absolutely fucking that is effing win. That is legitimately effing win. God, that's a good feeling. That means we have. That means we do have a. We can compile software on. I'm going to. I'm actually going to write a note of this. Added CC1 to path. Maybe not necessary. LD config is very much needed due to libnpc not being found in user lib. Okay, what else do I actually need to note here? Ran into issues with fixed includes. Remove them since should be unnecessary. And got hello world built. Okay, that is definitely a win. So yeah, still quite a few more packages I actually need to like sort out and build, but that's actually a major step forward. So all right, so going back to the list of shit I actually need, I built core utilities. I'm going to have to rebuild core utilities, but I don't have to do that this second. I probably am going to need end curses, so I could, yeah, I could cross compile that. I do need util Linux. I think I'm just going to go right down this list and basically just hammer it right out. So we do have yeah, so I do need bzip 2. Alright, so why don't I grab bzip 2? I just have to find the source code for it. That's bzip2 downloaded. We're just basically going to go right down the line. So the cross links from scratch script just says I should disable the test target. Yeah, so we just do that. Then it says gmake equals cc. Let's see. Hopefully that just builds and works. That would be really nice. I had to cross-compile bin utilities. Alright, yeah. I had to cross-compile bin utilities. I think with Vi, I'm probably going to native build it. I'll be perfectly honest. That sounds kind of miserable to cross-compile. So we just do gmake -dir clf install. Oh, that went into the user local folder. That's not exactly where I wanted to... Oh, crap. No, that's not where it went. Yeah, that's not actually where it went. It went... it went into the local system. Try that again. There we go. That time it went where it's supposed to. It's a little stressful. Like I said, I'm just... Yeah, alright. So I do have a copy of N-Curses already kind of floating around here. I'm assuming it's in Cross Tools, because that seems to be where I had to have built it. Yeah, I do have it. So gtar... Cross Tools, N-Curses. Alright, so N-Curses, I don't know if I have to do anything special for. So configure prefix user with shared build i56 interx PC interx 3.5 host x86. Hopefully that just basically builds. I'm gonna step away from keyboard for a moment. Actually, you know what? Here's what I'll do. Let me Control C that. Because that's going to take a few minutes to run. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I've been interested in doing something with Unixware for a while. I have no idea what I'd actually cover. Apparently I can get a evaluation copy of it from Xenos pretty easily. So given that's the case, maybe it's something I'll do in a future stream. Isn't the prefix wrong? No, the reason the prefix is /user is because due to the way this works, file paths get encoded in the built binary. I have to use the -dir option when I make install to put it in the right place. Unless I actually goofed that up and I didn't put it in /user, but I think I did. Yeah, no, I did that right. That is actually correct. That's why I have to put -dir in. Because if I don't do that step, it will... Basically, the host system will expect it to be in that prefix directory, and things will not work correctly. This is something I've kind of learned the hard way from experience. -dir is not a feature that most people ever use. What it basically does is make the prefix everything where it needs to go. It tends to get used like when you package stuff in RPM or deb files. It's sometimes useful. Basically, it's useful if you're making a distribution, and it's very niche out of that. I mean, if I was going to pull out Unixware, I'd probably talk about SCO, but honestly, I'm thinking the next thing I'm going to do, like, just as a short project, because I don't think this would be more than a single stream, but I think it'd still be an interesting video, is actually building CPM from source on a Commodore 128. I intended to do that project on real hardware, and it had so many technical problems that I gave up, because you need at least 2 floppy drives, and they really have to be 1571s. And those drives are hard to find in working condition. I had one, and then it crapped out. And I did have an SD2 IDC, which I modified to work on the Commodore 128's burst mode. There's a modified firmware that will do it, but I also had to do a hardware mod to make it work. All right, so yeah, that works. So gmake 4. So we'll just let that build for term info. I mean, I could probably justify it for the channel. If someone actually has an evaluation key, the biggest thing is that, like I said, the thing is I actually had a paper copy of the Unixware license for version 5, I think. And I accidentally left it in a pile of books that I basically donated. And I'm slightly kicking on myself on that one, because that's like a very small light thing I could have brought with me to Europe. But I had to really, to get out here to Europe, I brought 2 bags. And then my desktop and NAS took the slow boat out here, and took about 2 months to actually catch up. No, it took longer than 2 months. But yeah, they took a really long time before I got them back. So that's why my first streams on this channel were on the MacBook Pro. It is nice having my desktop, and in a lot of ways it's very liberating to just have you. I've always been a minimalist person. Like I hate owning stuff. Beyond the basic essentials. Like the only, aside from a few like personal effects, the only real thing I brought that wasn't essential was my amateur radio gear, just because amateur radio shit's expensive in Europe. Probably open server. Yeah. I haven't decided if I actually want to do that, because I don't even know what I would flipping talk about aside from the SCO lawsuits. Like, Unixware is not particularly interesting Unix, and I already find it hard to do videos on Unix. Like, I thought about trying to, like, get a newer version of GCC for AUX. There's a unofficial port that apparently escaped from NASA of 2.7, and it should be realistic to get a 4X version going, but for reasons I'm not entirely clear on, the Free Software Foundation had an embargo on Apple everything. I've heard people say that's related to Next, but at that point in time, Next wasn't even a thing at that point. Like, we're talking 1992. No, Next was a thing at that point. I take that back. Yeah, like I said, I think the next video I dive into, I might just do CPM in Vice on a Commodore 128 and just rebuild it from source, because at least it gives me the pretext to actually talk about CPM, which I've wanted to do for a while, but actually, like, anything CPM is actually really, it's so simple, there's not much to talk about, and it's not visually interesting, so it doesn't make particularly good video fodder. Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely want to figure out, once I get my, like I said, I sent the application for RAG earlier today, and I also sent them my 40 euros to join them. I never actually joined ARRL when I was living in the US, but I never considered them an effective lobbying, effective advocates for this sport either. Oh, it was a look and feel embargo. Yeah, so I would be kind of curious to know what it would take, but the thing is that because GCC doesn't even have a concept of AUX, it would basically be a raw platform port, and that's a little bit sorry, that's a lot harder than a regular one. And I really don't want to fucking native build GCC on AUX, even in an emulator. That would be pain. But if I could pull it off, it really would come down to if I could get new lib to run on the damn thing. Yeah, Commodore stuff wouldn't be hard to find here. I don't know if the 128 would be particularly easy. It wasn't a particularly popular machine, so I don't know how many 128s made it to Europe. But I know that Commodore basically, because Commodore was a Canadian company, they actually had a habit of dumping their used products on the eastern side of the Berlin Wall of the Iron Curtain. So Commodore 16s were incredibly popular in Eastern Europe. So I could find a Commodore 16 or even possibly even a Plus 4 here really easily. I had a Plus 4, but in the list of shit I got rid of and I regret getting rid of, I had a RetroTink, so I could hook up vintage stuff to my capture card. I'm probably going to have to replace that because if I ever want to do anything like with Wii Linux, I don't have a way of doing capture. It's possible. The problem is that everyone had their own variant of cough, so I'm not convinced that bin utilities would be able to target it. Yeah, I could probably find an Amstrad system to do it, but I also kind of don't want to collect vintage computer hardware again. Like, because you become responsible for it. And I literally had 2 shelves and half a storage unit of vintage computer stuff that I do a project with and then rarely, if ever, got used. It was actually incredibly liberating to offload the lot and find new homes for it, but it was so much work to do that. So, yeah. So, let me change my status because we actually did test GCC. So that's just basically grinding away without all that much issue. So what's next up on the list? I need check. I don't even know where I get this one. See here, all packages. See here, check. Okay, so that's a source. That's on SourceForge. I can grab that now while we're waiting. So, download and downloaded. So yeah, check is up next. I'm going to have to build. I'll have to build diff utilities, file, find utilities, gawk, get text, grep, gzip, make, patch, sed, tar, text info, Linux utils, vim, and yeah, so there's still actually a fair number of shit I actually have to like build and such. It isn't particularly terrible, it's just work, to put it bluntly. I did some experimenting with building a cross compiler for Amiga Unix on a live stream. The project itself didn't quite interest me enough to go back to it because Amiga Unix itself is its novelty. It's Unix running on Amiga, which is and it's essentially just a port of either SunOS or Solaris. It might be a out, SFX 1999. No, wait, it would be Mach O. It would be Mach O because it's Mach. Mach universally used Mach O. But it's a slight, but Mac OS's version of Mach O is somewhat of a unique dialect compared to Mach O on other Mach-based operating systems, but it would be a Mach O file. Bin Utilities should support that. That being said, whether it supports it well is an entirely different thing. Yeah, like I said, you know, I do want to do some amateur radio stuff on stream. I'm just, like I said, it's, you know, I guess it's part of it just because I'm living in a new country. I don't know the, you know, Greece's civil law versus common law. It's like, I don't know the implications, and the idea of running afoul Greek law really kind of freaks me out because, you know, I'm not a citizen, I'm not, and at least for this moment, I'm not an EU national. Yeah, adding a new binary format to bin utilities is a fucking nightmare. That you basically, what you have to do is you have to add it to BFD, and that code base is undocumented crap all the way down, full with magic variable strings and no documentation. And then if you add to BFD, then you may or may not have to also add additional code to LD and friends. It's somewhat straightforward, but it's very annoying. I've never actually built FreeBSD from source, so I don't know that. I'd presume that I could build NetBSD at this point, since I have an updated compiler. But it probably wouldn't build with the built-in GCC 3.3, but since I've upgraded the compiler to 4.6, it should theoretically work. Hey, Soulcatcher. It's been a little up and down. I had to deal with... let me put it like this. Apparently, Greece... I'm dealing with some headaches dealing with the Greece's healthcare stuff, which is probably going to require me to bang my head on a wall for an extended period, or I'm going to have to incorporate... yeah, okay, that finished. I might actually have to open a business here in Greece for the YouTube channel to show that I have a source of income coming in. Which may actually be to my advantage because I don't think... Because right now, I pay the self-employment tax in the United States. So my taxes might actually go down by doing that. But that is definitely... Okay, so apparently I did do it with Gmake. Alright. I'm just slightly mentally potato. Alright, so we just let that do its install, and that is ncurse is handled. So yeah, going back to what I was saying is, I am tempted to like do live streaming and stuff of amateur radio. Like a video I'd like to do is like I made 1,000 QSOs. I actually made about, I think I made about 70 as SV3/KD2JRT/M. I assume I'd probably be okay doing it, but like I said, I'm a little bit jerk. Right now, I don't know. The one thing I don't actually know is if I can just operate with the digital receipt that I got, that the call sign has been issued, or if I actually have to go pick it up at the... I'm assuming it's in the regional office of Arcadia. So, if I have to go to Athens, I'm going to be really pissed about that, but I don't think I have to go to Athens for that. Yeah, so I actually sent them an email just asking where the hell I go to pick it up, because I legitimately don't know where this government office is, aside from the fact that it's not where I am. So, Nicholas, the compiling is coming from inside the house. Yeah, I think I'd be fine, but, you know, I also read stories of how the Greek police actually threw a. It happened on one of the islands. They threw a foreign radio operator in jail, despite the fact that he was licensed. And it's like, shit like that doesn't exactly make me thrilled to operate here. That being said, the recent Mount Athos activation was considered valid, so I wasn't able to work SV1 GA/A. My license expired shortly before I could do it, so I'm a little sad about that, but maybe I'll get lucky and I'll be able to work Mount Athos in the future. No, that was recent. That was SV5. That was like a few years ago. Let me see. Oh, maybe that's a different one. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so it was 2012. It happened in Kos. Yeah, 2012. So there's been a few incidents with that happening. Oh, fuck. Okay, I know how to fix that. At least I really hope that works. Let me write, so... that handles that. Then email. I don't actually know the word for tourist. I was actually watching. So there's actually like a local streaming service in Greece called Ertflix, and it's actually kind of fascinating. The fact that it's just called Ertflix kind of is amusing. But I was watching the Greek dub of Inspector Gadget. I still am not at the point that like I understand much of anything, but I do I understand a couple words, and I am slowly getting better with it. So there's that. Actually, I'm gonna be right back. Yeah. Turistas. Then ime turistas. I'll be right back. I'm back. Yeah, I have my Greek lesson tomorrow. Oh wow, it didn't like that. Alright, so I think I'm gonna have to fiddle with the make file. I'm guessing I have to give it, okay, so there's install sh. I guess I can do dash disable stripping, which I guess I don't really want to rebuild it. I don't even see where it's actually running that. So, is there install sh in? Well, I can set the configure flag to disable stripping. Problem is I don't see where it's, you're really going to make this hard on me, aren't you? God, now suddenly I want baklava. Like, chat, you've made me hungry for something sweet, and that sucks. I've been doing a very high protein diet to try and help lose weight, and it's actually been working. I've dropped, I think, about 3 kilos, almost 4 since I've gone to Greece. So I'm hoping by the end of the year I'll have lost about 10 to 15 kilos because the weight loss has been accelerating. Still having trouble going out regularly to exercise, but that will get easier as the waistline gets thinner. So, small things. Yeah, no, I actually think it's about 4 kilos. I have another 20 I need to lose, really. Because I used to be a lot thinner than what I am now. But, it's actually a known phenomenon that Americans that relocate to Greece tend to almost always lose weight, while Europeans that move to North America tend to gain weight. So, yeah, it shows how much of that is just fucking environmental. And, yeah, unfortunately I don't have any sweets in the house because I've really been working hard to not have them. Fellow and the chocolate ion. Polyfellow chocolate ion. I mean, Ryan, to an extent, I would agree with that, but I lived in New York City without a car, and it was still extremely hard to lose weight and keep it off. I was able to keep it off for a number of years, but when my health got really bad in 1819, they put me on meds that caused me to gain a lot of weight, and when I got off those meds, which didn't help at all, the pandemic kicked in, so yeah, I mean, basically what I've been doing is I've almost entirely eliminated carbs from my diet. So it's really just been meat and fats, and it really has been helping it, especially because the quality of meat here in Greece is so much better than what you can get in the United States. Fucking EU standards, you know. The end goal of this... Oh, you are flipping kidding me. Alright, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to reconfigure it and disable the strip command, because, you know what? I don't care. I legitimately don't care. Yeah, I am. The thing is that I was always I didn't come up from like I said I didn't come from a particularly good household, and I was always heavy as a kid. While my mother was frankly, she denies this, but she's anorexic almost to the point of the. I would say she is the clinical definition of it, and it's caused me to have a very difficult relationship with food. I think the dish I really remember, I think I had it in Sarajevo. It was essentially the same sort of phyllo pastry dough, but it had beef in the center, and like that was just, oh, it was so good. It was absolutely, like, it was drool-worthy good. Yeah, I mean, the first time I lost a lot of weight was when I was living in Alaska. And I didn't have a car living in Alaska, I just had a bicycle. I've actually bought a bicycle here, but I've really been struggling with motivation to get on it. Well, it doesn't seem to respect the stripped variable at all, so I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to disable stripping and do it that way. Ime... fellow ime fahoto. Yeah, you know what's worse is sometimes when I'm trying to speak Greek, Spanish slips in, even though I haven't spoken Spanish regularly in over a decade, not since my grandmother passed away. Like, I think I managed to do ti estás, which is Greek for what, and istas, which is essentially ime. It's you are is in Spanish, because in Spanish it's como estás, for how are you. No, I honestly, just for my mental health, coming to Greece was the right option. The not being in the United States is very much an upside, but it wasn't the main reason why I left. But I do very much appreciate not being there, especially with the current clown show. Yeah, and I mean, you know, the worst part about it is I can't speak for European nations, but in the United States, being overweight is seen as a personal failing. You know, it's not, you know, there's no care given to the fact that healthy food in the United States is obscenely expensive. Like, you know, to give you an idea here, I can buy a giant I could probably buy a half kilo of chicken or pork for about €5 to €6. $5 to $6 might get you a meal at McDonald's, depending on where you are, to give you an idea of what it's like in the States. Part of it is due to family stuff, but the idea of American exceptionalism always bothered me. And then when I lived in Central America for a time, it was kind of seeing the American Empire, the underpinnings of the American Empire, and more to the point, how much bloodshed the United States has caused in the name of democracy. It's not, strictly speaking, a U.S. problem. The more fundamental issue is that the global north, and that means the EU as well, Australia, Japan, the United States, Canada. They don't ask where the resources they're buying on the global market comes from. There's no problem giving money to dictatorships for oil. Trying to change that feels like an impossible task, but I also remember that slavery was once seen as impossible to abolish, and it happened. In Europe, it happened peacefully. In the United States, we had a little civil war on the issue, but it did happen. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Geopolitics does tend to be pretty horrible. I'm still living in the global north. Greece is right on the edge between, it's at the bottom of the global north. Not an insult to Greece, but during the crisis, its actual criteria dropped it from developed nation to developing nation, to give you an idea of how bad the Greek economic crisis was. 25% loss of GDP be like that. I was in Athens actually at the height of that, and it literally looked like the city had been bombed, probably from the amount of rioting that had happened as the Greek financial crisis ran its course. And colonialism got its start in Europe. It's something to be said that European nations basically built themselves off the resources extracted from Africa and elsewhere. That continued even after World War II effectively ended the colonial empires of the European nations. It still continued in the United States. In history books, I'm currently attending school at Open University. So I'm getting a UK perspective on global events, and it was very interesting reading about how they talk about the British Empire and the costs that the British Empire had for Africa. But I noticed a very notable lack of this is still happening. It's there in places, and it's especially, but it makes sense that a course out of the UK focuses more on Europe than the US. Well, colonization of Africa happened before the Industrial Revolution. The earliest colonies in Africa, you go back to the 14th century. They were still colonized when the Industrial Revolution was. And, British colonization of India destroyed the local textile industry. What industries did exist were destroyed by imperialistic forces. I've lived in 7 states, 3 countries, with Greece being number 3. 4 countries. China is a bit of an iffy case because I was only in China for a month, but I was actually working in China. I wasn't there as a tourist. And so I actually got a day in the life of a Chinese worker because that was what I was exposed to. So while it was a very short period, it was... it's one of the few things in my life I'm very thankful for because I got to experience how the other half lives. Well, Africa didn't have its Industrial Revolution. Let me phrase this. The Industrial Revolution... I believe the starting point of the Industrial Revolution was in the UK. It was also in Germany, but I think the official place was actually in the UK. Don't quote me on that one. But it was from the... I like China a fair bit. I thought Hong Kong was a pit, and Macau... Macau is everything... is the worst aspects of Las Vegas built into a city. Taiwan was interesting. I think one of the things that really made me think about perspectives was hearing both the PRC's version of events of the Chinese Civil War and those of the Republic of China, also known as Taiwan. Because, you know, a lot of the facts between the two are actually fairly accurate, but a lot of the context is very different. Yeah, well, Niazid, you used to live in Hong Kong. Hong Kong, I felt, was like the single most depressing place I went to in Asia Pacific. It really just felt like a very... It had all the worst aspects of New York, and like the whole place just felt like it was about money, which I guess it kind of was, considering that Canton was leased as a port to the British for what it was, and then when handover happened, it became the special administrative zone. So, yeah, I guess that actually tracks why it's all about money. And this was before the crackdowns and the national security law, which basically, I've heard Hong Kong these days looks really bad. But I have no way of knowing. I haven't been to Hong Kong in 10 years. Thanks for the subscription, Dazek, Smuszek. I hope I didn't butcher that too much. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of it for me is my personal background is my family were, on my father's side, my family were direct victims of the Cuban Revolution. They were one of the first to go into exile after Castro took power, and my grandfather was actually imprisoned by the regime for a time. So while in the United States, communism tends to just be a generic boogeyman, you know, there's the family history there. I was born in the United States, but going to China really came to show... The thing that I take most from the experience is day-to-day life between the United States and China is not as big of a divide as you would think. Yeah, I mean, Chinese companies don't pay as much, and I wasn't drawing a paycheck from a Chinese source. I was basically assigned there by my British employer. Well, I don't think it really surprises anyone that that's how that played out. But, yeah. Those who have British national overseas passports are probably making whatever moves they can to leave the area. And I wouldn't be surprised if the special administration zone at some point goes away. That's true, but a lot of places don't have the obscene high cost of living as the U.S. either. Like, the money that I make off YouTube, from what I've been told, is about equivalent to a medium income here in Greece. And in the U.S., I wouldn't have been able to live off what I make on YouTube. Here I can, which really, really makes a huge difference. I don't know I don't know if and when I'm going to actually return to full-time work. But as long as YouTube keeps bringing stuff in, I don't have to worry about it all that much. What was train of thought just completely derailed. Because right now I'm going to get my university degree. That's a painful story of my life of why I didn't get it originally, and it boils down to the fact that I never wanted to work in tech. I was forced into it, I hated it, and it led to a mental breakdown. I eventually got my shit together. And I got some pretty seriously nice consolation prizes. Most of my travels were either company sponsored or were paid through were time I took, because I was able to I did the digital nomad thing before it was really defined as a thing. Yeah, Toronto, I've spent a lot of time up in Canada, and it's pretty bad up there as well, especially because Loblaws, which is like the giant food chain up there, has been price gorging to the point that multiple parliamentary debates have happened on that. The flip side is that Canada has a more... If you're not in Toronto, Canada has a functioning social safety net. The 2 decades of Tory rule has really done bad things to Ontario. Who could have guessed it? Bloc Québécois is conservative, but they still have a functioning social safety net as compared to Ontario. Meanwhile, the prairies, despite being very red, also have fairly good health care and stuff like that. How do I want to put this? What I've learned from life, what I've learned from living in so many places, that the day-to-day aspects of life is almost universal. So living in Greece, as to living in China, as to living in the United States, as to living in Canada, you'd be surprised at how much actually is the same between all four. I don't doubt that there's places in the world where that is very different. And I also, I've worked both blue collar and white collar jobs. I was a volunteer firefighter. I worked for a brief time as a custodian when I was in college. Not for long, but enough to at least give me an idea of what that was like. And right now, my source of income is this YouTube channel, which it's not exactly what I had in mind for my life, but fuck it. It's a better boss than half the ones I've had in real life, so you know what? Screw it. I did make a vlog channel recently, Ends Life in Greece, but I don't have the energy to maintain multiple channels at once, and this one is my largest by far. I mean, it's only got 45k subscribers, but my videos get over 100,000 views, which is... Even large channels can struggle to get that regularly. Like, I think about 1/4 of my video library has actually hit the 100k mark. And I'm actually expecting, because the edited form of this video is going to be a single, probably 1.5 to 2 hour video. That's what it's looking like it's going to be. Because the total edited footage at this point is 1 hour, 20 minutes. I'm thankful I've been editing this as I've been going along, because this would otherwise be a nightmare project to edit. Yeah, so... Well, the thing that I kind of want to do is I want to write a book. I'm not sure what that book is going to be, because one of the things that have been on my mind a lot is the idea of dead internet theory, and talking about how communication has changed in regards to the internet, especially as someone who effectively used the internet as a way to deal with a very terrible home life. Yeah, but I mean, what makes me stand out as a political commentator? I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to. I think once I finish my university degree, I'd be more inclined to do it, because I'm specifically studying politics, economics, and philosophy as a combined course. I had always wanted to be a lawyer, likely as either a public prosecutor or public defender. I always had the thought of being a public prosecutor, but as I said before, that choice was taken away from me. So, like I said, I decided to go for... I could have gone for a law degree out of the UK, but if I actually end up living in Greece for the next 10 years, or for the rest of my life, which may very well be what happens, I'm not planning on leaving Greece anytime soon. As converse to a lot of places where it always felt like temporary. Like, I'm not exactly sure I'm going to stay where I am in Greece, but I'm pretty sure I'll be in Greece at least for the foreseeable future. Because I may honestly end up moving to Athens just because work out here sucks. Like, if I actually have to get something that is more than YouTube for work, then I'm not going to find it in this region, and which means that living in Athens is what that will boil down to. But Athens is a 2-hour drive from here. More than that. Greece was the option I had, but I don't regret taking that option. I'm not an EU citizen. As for the details of how, I think I'm going to be willing to talk about that after I finish the immigration process. Right now, I have what's known as a blue card, which is temporary permission to stay in Greece past 90 days while my application is being processed. I've now been in a holding pattern for the Greek government to actually process that paperwork for 3 months. And at the rate they're going, I'm kind of expecting to see my residency card 6 months from now. But, yeah. I wasn't, like I said, I was in Athens last week, for personal reasons. I will say this, Athens has character. It doesn't feel like soulless like a lot of places I've been have. Like, when I was in Paris, I really disliked Paris. Paris made me feel... Paris, I had felt like I hadn't actually gone anywhere. I literally felt like I was still in New York City. It felt soulless. I didn't experience that in Berlin, but I have experienced it in Munich. Not to the same extent in Munich, but it was like, this is fine, I guess. Well, I mean, I will say the metro system in Athens is a lot better than I was expecting. I don't think I used the metro first time I was in Athens. Pretty sure I took a taxi from LGA, and my hostel was right next to the Acropolis. Oh, for the love of God. Why did this die again? What? So it's... Do I have multiple copies of Tick on the system? That may actually be the issue. Well, the script says it uses native tick, so I'm wondering if Interix ships a copy of tick. I actually shouldn't be searching the whole file system. Actually, hold on. I really wish I had the witch command. Yeah, I think it pulled the wrong tick. Pretty sure that's what happened. Is there a second copy of tick on the system? Yeah, there's 2 copies of tick in the system. That would do it. There we go. Alright, well, that was easy enough to work around. Just wrote a note for myself. Like, Barca and Madrid I both enjoyed. So it's not just problems with being in Western European cities. Conversely, in Eastern Europe, I thought Belgrade was a pit. I've been there twice, and both times I was happy to leave. I had a decent time in Novi Sad, though. But Paris, I just disliked Paris. Like, it felt like an, it just felt like an overhyped thing. And I've only been to London once, strangely enough, and I was a kid when that happened. I made a brief stopover in London a few years ago, but not enough to really get a feel for the place. Basically, I was in Dublin, and I decided, and it was actually going to Paris, so I took the ferry from Dublin to Holyhead, took the train to London, and then took the Channel Tunnel across, because I wanted to make an excuse to take the Channel Tunnel. It is really cool to do that in real life, but I did not enjoy Paris. I very much, like, it. I'm happy I went and saw the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre, but I have absolutely no desire to see it again. I mean, yeah, I don't disagree that its media perceptions of the place no doubt play a role, but there was just... It was incredibly crowded. It wasn't particularly hard to get around, but it also wasn't easy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is a matter of opinion. I know some people that really love Paris, but it's the only time I've been to France. Like, maybe I'll end up visiting Nice or somewhere else in the country. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing Brittany, and at some point I'd like to see the D-Day beaches myself. There's quite a few things in Europe that I've always wanted to go see, but I was never willing to make the dedicated trip to. And I usually, when I backpacked, I did a fair bit more in Asia than I did in Europe. If I did in Europe, it was always in Eastern Europe because you can see a lot more for the same amount of money than you can in Western Europe. I've been to Berlin probably... I would probably say it's close to a dozen times at this point, and Berlin has never ceased to be a good time. Like, I've always enjoyed my trips to Berlin. I don't know if I'd want to live there, but that's more cost of living than anything else. Although if AFD ever gains, like, majority in parliament as a foreigner, I don't think I'd be particularly welcome. Poland, I've been to Warsaw. Warsaw was depressing. It's the only way I can describe it, although at least that one is understandable. The city was basically burnt to the ground in the aftermath of World War II. So what exists is mostly what the Soviet-installed administration built. I've liked Budapest. I like Prague. Sarajevo, I think, still remains my favorite city in Europe. Like, Sarajevo, I went in with some expectations, and it did not disappoint. Alright, so that's End Curses built. So what are we next to on the list of shit I have to build? Check is the next package. Assuming this isn't going to be a complicated one. Did I not? Oh, I must have not copied it over. Am I just not seeing it? I thought I copied it over. Oh, I just didn't refresh. Okay, that's easy enough. Alright, so check. Yeah, this one doesn't look like it has anything special I have to do with it. So then I need to do diff utilities, find... I think most of these I actually have on the system. Prague is the only city in the world where I almost got pickpocketed. I literally caught the woman's hand in my pocket, and I told her if she didn't let go of my wallet, she was going to lose her wrist. I was tempted to drag her over to the police, but it was late at night, and in hindsight, maybe I should have done so. Oh, I just made a typo. I just realized I made a typo. I enjoyed driving through Mexico a lot. I always had a life goal of doing the Pan American Highway, although I don't think that's going to happen with the current current political climate in North America is the words I'm going to go with on that one. I wouldn't mind doing some more travels in Asia if money is not an object and like, I really question how usable my U.S. passport's going to be in a few years after Trump administration. Then again, who knows? I think I gotta open the window. It's hot in here. And this configure script just finished. Oh, it feels much nicer in here with the window open. And I just put a fresh pot of tea in the fridge. The way this room, there's an indoor-outdoor room attached to this one, so there's a sliding door, and then I open the outer window to get fresh air in here. Wow, I am definitely mentally fogged today, but mentally, I actually don't feel all that horrible aside from the fact brain fog, and I know what the brain fog is. It's the fact that I had to get up at flipping 9 a.m. After sleeping like shit last night. And whenever that happens, even though I was able to get back to sleep when I got back to the house, still mentally fogged. So, there's that. Alright, so that's check. What's next on the list of shit I need to cross-build? Diff utilities would be the next one. File, I've got the source code to locally, so I might as well go get diff utilities now while I'm waiting for this to go. God, remember when FTP clients used to be fucking standard? It's like I feel like computers have legitimately just moved backwards because in the name of quote security. Is diff utilities what? Oh, the VM might have lost its internet connection. Alright, fine. I'll just download it. I'll download it over on the desktop. Alright, that's done. It's not any specific. It's a Linux from scratch system. Basically I'm using the book as a reference. It's not any particular Linux distribution. I mean, you can get Explorer support for FTP on NT4. You just have to install Internet Explorer 4 explicitly. You can't install 5, but 4 gives you active desktop like it was on Windows 98. Like, you know, there's even secure FTP, which admittedly was never particularly popular. I don't think I've ever seen FTPS or... not to be confused with SFTP, but FTPS in the wild. I should probably just set it up for once for shits and giggles factor. Assuming I'm not going to have to do anything special for diff utilities. Yeah, nah, this one is basically the same. Yeah, like, I definitely want to play with AUX. I actually don't think I've ever done anything Macintosh on this channel. I'm almost certain I haven't. Yeah, I'm not surprised. But I mean, what about WebDave support? I mean, I'm pretty sure WebDave support died just as easily as like FTP support did, and WebDave avoids most of the legacy problems with FTP. Like, I don't completely disagree with taking FTP and putting it out to pasture, but you know, being able to just mount to load a file share and copy files off it, it was kind of nice. I've done Debian from source. I've done Gentoo from source. I've never built Oh, I mean, I was a Debian developer. I can quite literally say. I even wrote parts of DAC. Not much of it, but my name is in the is actually embedded in the source code of the Debian archive kit. Which is probably one of my coolest claims to fame. As long as Debian is around, my name is probably going to remain in some of the core infrastructure of it, and like. It's about the closest thing I can hope for immortality in this world. At least to be remembered. Like, how many people are just remembered because of random pieces of graffiti in a cave? I wasn't even thinking about that. I was only 18 when I did that. Let's see here. Is there anything going on Discord? Well, I'm watching Dr. Shuppet's build of trying to get a Linux from scratch built on Unixware and suffering. Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, the internet has become more and more proprietary. Even, like, you still see some personal blogs, but certainly not with the prevalence it used to be. Like, remember when Blogger was, like, a thing? I mean, it still is a thing, but it used to be a lot more common than what it is. These days, half the time when I find search stuff on Google, it's either a Stack Overflow post or it's a Reddit post. Yeah, I was a Debian developer... I was either 19 or 20. I was hired by Canonical when I was 20. I'm very good at tech, but I don't enjoy tech. I never wanted to take it as a field, but I was told that I would be a great disappointment and waste of talent if I didn't go into tech. So a very naive me did that and lived to regret it. I don't mind doing vintage tech so much, but and like doing it here on a live stream, you know, at least if I'm just doing monkeying around and people are enjoying it, like whatever. Like I do definitely think I want to write a book. I just need to figure out what the book is going to be, but I might just sit down, try and hit a word goal and see what comes of it. Might even just be a personal account of how the internet's changed for the last 30 years. I mean, one of the other things I did was I ran a fork of Slashdot. I helped found Soylent News as a direct result of DICE fucking over that community. So I had to dig through a lot of ancient Perl and make it work. That's still up. It's been up for over a decade now. Like, I've done some very cool things with my life. But I haven't been happy for most of it because I never enjoyed it. I mean, NeoZeed, I almost wonder if I end up reaching more people just because I make YouTube videos than you do of your blog. I mean, I have read... I think I've read Virtually Fun... I want to say since 2011, when you and I did the stuff with Next Step. We did that, what, in 16, 17? Yeah, I've been reading Virtually Fun for a long time. Well, I definitely think I want to write a book. I'll probably end up writing more than one book, but writing one is just a good starting point. So I would just self-publish it, and then I don't, if I'm going to sell merch on this channel, I might as well just sell my own book. I don't, like, let's be honest, it's better than hearing another sponsorship plug than for Ground News. But yeah, I definitely am at the point in my life that I want to write a book. And I don't really, like, if I sell 10 copies of it, I'll call it a success. But it's one of those things is I feel like I have to get it out of my system. Yeah, I mean, I'm really trying to remember when I started reading Virtually Fun. Like, I don't check it every day, but, like, I'll come by, like, once a week and read whatever you've put up. That quick memo from my future self, Neozed, I'm pretty sure I'll end up having to look at that because that's actually useful. It's useful in the OWL sort of way because I hate having to deal with 7-zip. I might go back to doing I might do Next Step. I'll either do Next Step or Darwin as a future project. I'm going to need a bit of a break from a massive project after I finish this one. Well, I started a YouTube channel because I was trying to bike across the United. I always had an interest of kind of just doing it for shits and giggles. The videos are unlisted, although I have them in a public playlist, which you can find if you dig on my channel. This channel started life as a few random vlogs, and then I posted a bunch of Let's Plays in Minecraft. And then when the lockdown happened, I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to look at Windows 1.0, I'm going to write an article, and I'm going to make a video about it. I've never touched 88K. I believe there is an emulator for it, so I kind of am tempted to make a go at it. I don't know, maybe I'll try making a new tool chain for AUX. I've always been kind of tempted to do that, and if I can just figure out how to make a syscall on AUX, it would probably be relatively straightforward. I mean, I don't think it would be that bad. Yeah. I mean, I guess one of the ways to think of it is that the internet these days is super commercialized. I don't think that's like opinion. I think that's just literal fact. I don't think and what pays out the best in doing internet content is stuff that keeps people sucked in, and for better or worse, YouTube and live streams do that. I mean, part of the times I think I'm part of the problem, but the flip side is I'm a small channel. Go look at the views someone like Ninja gets, or XQC. And it's like, I mean, I watch a fair bit of gaming content on YouTube. It's sort of like comfort food. I've made kind of a major effort to try and cut back how much YouTube I'm watching. I don't know how successful I am, but I've sort of gotten to the point that if I start just binge watching YouTube videos and I have nothing else to do, I've been putting up the live stream. I probably won't stream tomorrow. I'm trying not to have more than one stream left to edit, although I can merge this stream into the next one. So I think tomorrow I'm going to work more on digitizing my notes. I've got a paper coming up for class, so this month is a little irk-a-dirk, but I'm also near the end of this project. Well, one thing I've tried... uh-oh. That's a problem. Is that a fatal problem? I'm assuming sort is in core utilities and I just can't build a new one. That... Yeah, that's kind of a problem. All right, hold on. Let me write some notes for myself. You know what? Why don't we see if we can build this natively? All right, Control C. This isn't going to be very fast because it's going to be building over NFS. But why don't we see if we can actually just build it on the system itself? Wait for all that to extract. Because I'm not sure if I can or can't build it yet. Yeah, but the thing is, it looks like it was trying to generate an LD script. So why don't we see if we can build it. Can I change settings? Can I make the colors brighter? Because the colors are a little bit dim. Yeah, why don't I... You know, I think it's okay. I actually think it's okay. So let's see if we can actually build something on this. So this would be prefix user. Oh. Alright, you know, let's see if we can get a mount command. Let's see if we can get a... Let's see if we can get a mount command. So if I need to build... What do I actually need to build? It would be... utility Linux is what has the mount command. So I might as well go grab that. I'm assuming I basically want to grab the newest version of it I can, but I don't know what... Yeah, so go... So that would be 241. And then I grab, I save link as... Alright, let's see if we can build utility Linux, because... If we can build that, we get a mount command, and then we have a way more functional system than we would have had 30 minutes ago. Feel this tired. Oh boy, this is a chunky package. My sort utility is a little bit too ancient to let diff utilities build, so let me see if I can just build this. It might have additional dependencies that I don't have yet, but yeah, that's a lot of code. Well, the problem is that I can't make device nodes on Interex's NFS server, and I can't make a temp file system without a mount command, so we need the mount command. I do need to solve that Pixie Linux problem, and maybe I'll work on that a little later. I do need to give it some additional flags. It needs disable, make, install, show own, disable, make, install, set UID. That's down in my notes file. Thank you for the subscription, Oak Gormod 1. And if you enjoyed this content, consider becoming a member and getting access to the devlogs, which are edited streams that basically cover everything up until this point. Yeah, I'm definitely tempted to do CPM next. It seems like we've got the kernel built. We've got about 50% of the user land sorted out. So we got, if we pull up this terminal, you can see we actually have the system running. It's running diskless off Interex right now, so there's that. Yeah, this is going to take a while to build. Yeah, screw it. I am going to go get it. skipped the caffeine and I just had a glass of tea because it's done seeping. Kalon, I'm booting it in a VM, in a separate VM, so there's that. So yeah, we just gotta let this configure script run. Well, Kalon, if I had older hardware, I'd probably do it, but I don't. Like I said, I had to offload it, basically everything as part of the move to Greece. But I'm okay with that. You could, if Neozed hadn't called it virtually, or he claimed the name virtually fun, it would be a pretty apt description of what this channel is going to be like going forward. Probably will only stream as late as 2 a.m. and then hopefully I'll conk out. Like I said, if I'm just chipping away at this, I'm chipping away at this because I want this done before the end of the month. I'm hoping to have the video ready to go by June 1st. I should be done. It's not like I've got all that much left. And I might this weekend just make a major push to finish the damn thing. If I didn't feel completely and totally mentally kaput, I'd be working on a script right now, but it's not going to happen right now. That being said, you know what? I'm going to fund for Neozed's blog and just see if there's any sort of project I kind of want to take up here. Or if Neozed is still watching, if you have any recommendations. Like, what do you have tagged Gopher? So yeah, so I like your Gopher project. Yeah, like I said, I'm just something for NeoZed's blog, because every time I look at politics, I just get depressed. I mean, rebuilding CPM in and of itself would be a project. Let's see here. Let me look at his source code. God, that's a website. God, there is so much fucking JavaScript crap on this website. This is actually obnoxious. This is what Bill Gates considers a good website. I weep for the internet. Plus, it's all right. It's in fuck. I've noticed that I also can't select any text on YouTube as of late. It's like the most obnoxious thing. Yeah, I hate this trend where you can't even like select some websites and highlight them. Like, I don't even care about copy pasting. I just find it easier to read that way. Oh, you know, I just realized it is now my birthday here in Greece. I am 37 years old. Yay. We should do something special for my birthday. I just don't know what. Yep, I am 37. It's, Hey, Sarah. Thanks for all the birthday wishes, chat. I should actually do a dedicated birthday stream. Yeah, it's still the 14th in the United States. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be. I don't think I'd want to be immortal. Immortality always feels like a fool's errand. Yeah, I mean, it looks like I'm going to make it to 40. I didn't even think I'd make it to 30. That being said, the back half of my 30s thus far have been a lot better than my 20s. Like I said, I left a lot of bad things behind in the United States, and I am... It's not exactly a fresh start, because while you can achieve a fresh start, it means cutting off everything that existed before, and the cost of that's often just too high. But I was able to leave a lot of my pain and suffering back in the United States, and given the option, I don't think I will return. I mean, 10 years from now, I may feel differently, but I just don't see it. Sorry if I'm just being silent tonight. I'm just kind of vibing here as much as I can be, as we just see if the builds just keep on going. Like I said, I should do something for my birthday. I don't know what that's going to be. Maybe it might just be eating out at a favorite restaurant. God knows you can't go wrong here in Greece. I have yet to find a place that is not worth going to. I mean, Sarah, I get that feeling, especially if you come from a not so happy background. Like, you know, you've been in my chats for a while, but I can't say I know you. Like, I don't know if you had a happy home life. I don't know if you had a sad home life, but I'm glad that you're here right now, because if nothing else, you've been, you're a part of my life, even if you're just a few lines in my chat. I do think I'm going to be writing a book this year. I actually may even start it this week. I actually need to be awake for that. I don't know if I'm going to start it before I finish this project, but maybe I'll do it on Friday. That might be my Friday project. Well, Sarah, if you want to get to... You're always welcome to join the Discord. Alright, so, well, I mean, your handle is Soul Catcher. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to. I mean... Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is a parasocial connection, but you know, it's like I watch people watch one of those one of those million viewer streamers where it's impossible to even interact with chat, and it's like one thing or another. My streams have roughly stayed consistent in size throughout the life of my channel, you know, between 100 200 people at most, and my chat's usually never very active. Like, YouTube has this analytic called chat rate, I don't know exactly what it measures aside from number go up, more people are chatting, but you know, it's not like I ever really see the chat just go scrolling by. Oh yeah, I do see you in the Discord. Oh, it's in streamer mode. Yeah. I mean, I've used I date back from the era where real names on the internet were a rare thing, and you know, people cared about privacy, and then Facebook kind of changed that, as did YouTube. Yeah, I mean, I also get it. I mean, if my channel ever makes it to 100K, I'll probably have to deal with that to some degree. I mean, I haven't even reached 50K, but I also haven't been super active on the channel for the last 2 years. Like, I have had periods where I could sit down and do work on it, but this is the first time that I've had, like, a lot of streaming time in the last year. Uh-oh. That's not so good. Why is it complaining about end curses? I mean, I guess the question is, can you have a meaningful relation? You know, it's saying that all these libraries are not found, but I know I've installed them. I'm a little bit confused on why it's not working. I'm building utility Linux because I want a mount command so I can build dev tools. I need to make a temporary file system. Either I have to mount dev tempfs or I need to just make a tempfs and then I really was about to say mount the doohickeys, which really should show you the amount of mental processing power I've got right now. Probably have the mental energy of a 486. Oh, uh-oh. Oh god. I have to rerun the flipping configure script. Alright, you know what, and then... The energy of this stream is is a dead Energizer bunny. Wipe light. The problem is I don't have a mount command. We're literally compiling this to have the mount command. Like one does not simply mount a file system. Yeah, I could set. I should probably set configure to run to cache crap. I really should do that. It's /big C. No, the problem is that I need to be able to mount a file system within my Linux VM, the one that we just built. So I need the mount command. I can't believe it's not mount. It's semi-modern. Some components are new, some components are a little bit dated. I have no desire to play Space Cadet Pinball, I'll be honest. I don't actually, like, I enjoy pinball to an extent, but I don't have a whole lot of nostalgia for it. Actually, it'd only be like 3 commands to do it, but it really is just a single syscall at the end of the day, but I would have to even look up how that syscall works. Benjamin Temple, thank you for becoming a channel member. It really makes a huge difference. Like, seriously, it makes a huge difference. Sometimes I do think YouTube uses how much revenue my channel gets more than anything else for determining how much it promotes my channel. But yeah, it's definitely appreciated. And God, I actually haven't been live streaming that much this month. I went all of last week without live streaming. Although last week was actually very busy for me, so I've really got to be more on top of it and just make channel grow. I'm really hoping that when this video goes out the door, it's going to be I really hope when this goes out the door, this video does well, because it will suck if it doesn't. I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, most of the performance bottleneck is services for Unix. Um, Not that this was particularly fast. Like, I've run this back in the day on not services for Unix, but this is about what I remember Cygwin running as. I think this is faster than Cygwin, but not by much. The build process compels you. The build process compels you. Soul Catcher, it's because I control gravity. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, this is faster than the Vax. I still have access to that Vax. If I really... The problem is that OpenVMS has some logistical pain that has sort of stopped me from doing anything with it, but... Yeah, the plan is to build... I don't know if I'm going to build the full system because, honestly, it's a fuck ton of work to do that. That's probably another 15 hours to build the whole core system again on the Linux VM. I might just do it because... Like, I definitely should do something with that Vax. Alright, hopefully it gets to the end. Thank you for subscribing, Kwan Igc. Probably butchered that, but... I mean, I've already done that as a live stream. It was like 40 hours of work to get all the way to running Firefox on the Linux from scratch system. I don't really want to do that again. Let me look at the actual Linux from scratch book, like just to get an idea of what I'd actually have to do. I haven't really decided if I want to take it that far. Alright, LFS.org is Libertarian Futurist Society. That's not what I'm looking for. Yeah. I have no lamp. I just have a fan. Okay, cool. We are building. The cat ears disappeared before I even left Jersey City. I don't know what happened to them. I didn't find them when I moved out. It's not like I couldn't buy a set of cat ears. I've honestly been thinking about commissioning a VTuber model. I was going to ask a friend of mine, Europa, for some help on how to create one. But sitting and doing that would be kind of a fair bit of work. It's definitely something I want to do, but I'd also need to replace my phone because my phone overheats while it's on the charger, so I have no way of doing tracking. Wouldn't be terribly difficult. I really don't want to spend the money for a new phone. Thus, like, it's not like I can't afford it. Oh, flip. Do I not have bin bash? I remember I replaced the shell. No, okay, that's easy enough to fix. No, I probably chat. Besson is probably correct. I just didn't have bin bash installed there. It was an op tools. Yeah, I don't know if I'd go all the way to... If I do the remainder Linux from scratch system, because I gotta be honest, I'm getting sick of this project. I kind of want to see it through to the end. Like, I'm almost at the end. If I really have to, like, take it over that hurdle... It's not like I have that much more to do, but it is still quite a lot to do, like, a full Linux from scratch. Because I essentially, let me see here, it would be let me count these, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 7. Yeah, that's like 100. That's like 70 packages that I'd have to build. To get an up-to-date Linux from scratch system. And I legitimately don't know if I've got that in me. I'm surprised that that is a hard-coded thing, although I guess I shouldn't. I doubt util Linux gets cross-compiled very often, and especially not cross-compiled from a non-Linux system. It's funny that the moment I effing said that... Well, crap. I wonder if that will work, because I should have that definition. I'm pretty sure util Linux is kind of glitching out because it's being cross-compiled. Especially because it's in libmount, which is kind of the bit I need. Like, the one thing I really need from this is the mount command, and I don't have it. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it goes down to. Grant Pal, good to see you too. Hopefully it just kind of builds. If not, I probably need to grab an older version of util Linux. Because it is possible my copy of glibc is simply too old. I didn't build a particularly modern one. it's taking its time getting through that folder. Okay, let's see here. Does it build? Well, that's a different failure. At least I think that's a different failure. So what happened to my user bar on... Oh, there it is. Wow, I had a sudden drop off in viewers. Apparently, Tired End is not the greatest at making content. Not surprising. I will say that I watched 17 Pages, which was the Nebula exclusive Bobby Broccoli movie. It was phenomenally well done. I stayed up way too late watching it. You know, I do know that I do have some chicken stock and some chicken that I could probably eat. I might have that in a bit. I'm pretty sure I'm going to pull the plug on the stream around 2 a.m. Like, I'm literally just chipping away at this. Yeah, I will say, if you can watch it on Nebula, I'm going to say that because Nebula had to add a feature for this documentary specifically, and I'm not going to say what, but watch it on Nebula. Yeah, it is peak food time in the U.S. So there is that. Yeah, like, maybe I will. The problem is that the microwave gave up the ghost, and I haven't had a chance to replace it yet. So I have to go buy. I have to go buy a microwave. Because you put food in and it comes out colder than what it comes out as. It's become a reverse microwave. Probably the magnetron gave out the ghost. It's an ancient one. I mean, I get if I was willing to put a bowl of soup on top of my CPU, I could probably cook it. I don't want to really heat up all of the stock, so it wasn't too bad cold. A bit salty, but it wasn't all that bad. Yeah, I'll be back. I'm back. I got... It's sadly cold because, again, no microwave, and I don't really want to heat up the big pot on the stove. But chicken and mushroom, effectively stew. Very salty, but it's very good, and it's kind of what I feel like I need right now. Salt is good. Yeah, I mean, right now, I don't know if I can legally operate with just the digital receipt I got. I've thought about making a... So the current project ideas I'm having is making a floppy edition of Windows Millennium Edition. Something, something, something CPM, something, something, something. Excuse me. Or, something AUX. I'm assuming I just got to comment out more. Yeah, I'm assuming I just have to comment this out. I have no idea what I would do on NT for PowerPC, though. This is very salty, but it's very good, and I feel much better. When I was more raised by my grandparents than my own parents. And my grandfather had had a stroke when I was 3, so... my grandmother always cooked low-sodium food, so... having something very salty is unusual for me, because I never put enough salt in. But, you know, it's like... I know that in theory, low sodium is supposed to help your health, but I really sometimes question that, if that's such a good thing or not. That being said, modern American food has so much goddamn salt in it. That unsalted stuff just tastes bland by comparison. Oh, incidentally, Neozed, I think you remember a while ago that you found the WinNT target in old GCC. I figured out what that goes to. That goes to Services for Unix. Because Services for Unix was supported on i386 and Alpha. So that's what that target is actually for. It was for Services for Unix on NT4. Yeah, and unfortunately, creating a linker is not trivial. Like, there is actually some support in bin utilities for non-x86 portable executables. Because there was a GCC-based cross-compiler for CE, and the actual binary format between x86 for PE is identical, but God, imagine doing this project again on Alpha with InterX 1.0. It would be conceivably doable, although disk space would be a major factor because you'd have the 4 GB partition limit. Although not necessarily a deal breaker, because while there was the partition size limit, you could do stripe volumes that were bigger than 4 gigs. Yeah, it's not the PE part that's the hard part. You have to deal with Windows's structured exception handler, which originally had to be reverse engineered. I believe Microsoft documents it these days, but you'd have to figure out how that works on RISC versions of Windows. There's probably crap relating to the C runtime. Like, it would not be trivial to add GCC support. I presume that InterX does something similar. I haven't actually looked, but I would. The POSIX subsystem does. The old one did it that way. Its start function is like PSX start process, and then that eventually winds its way down to main. Oh man, that salt really helped. I feel a lot better now. Yeah, that legitimately helped a lot. Salt good. Well, there's libfdisk. So diff utilities died due to dated sort. So instead of trying to fix that, I'm trying to build utility Linux so I can get a mount command, so I can mount, I can get a temporary file system, so I can get dev null, so I can build on the host. No, P specifically stands for portable executable. Microsoft's used it for all ports of NT and Windows CE as well as Windows 9X. So the PE file format supports 32-bit Intel, 64-bit Intel, Itanium, Alpha, PowerPC, MIPS, Super H, ARM 64, Itanium, and probably a few other things. Like, they did support some platforms in there that weren't otherwise supported. No, the problem is that I can't make a device node on InterX's NFS server, so I need a temporary file system for it. Well, there's actually technical reasons why you would want to use PE over ELF in UEFI, and that's specifically because it's very easy to relocate position-dependent code with a PE file, which is extremely helpful when you're running without a memory manager. It was a specific design feature. So there is an actual technical reason why I could see they went with PE and not just because Microsoft. Well, I need dev null as a device node in my VM, but yeah. Which will hopefully be enough to run a configure script. Well, that's a bunch of handy commands that it's building right now. I should be able to mount dev tempfs. Like, I don't think I have to go out of my way. I might have to build udev, but it's not end of the world bad. That being said, booting up in multi-user might be quite difficult. Oh, you're fucking kidding me. I probably should have just built an old version of util Linux. I'm assuming I didn't get the mount command. No, it doesn't look like it built it yet. I'm just debating right now if I just want to grab the older version and call it good, because that's what it recommends. You know what? Fuck it. That's exactly what I'm going to do, because I just do not care right now. My brain is potato. I embrace the potato brain. So let me grab a much older version of this from like 10 years ago. And let me see if that works better. find it amusing that people freak out every time Mission Explorer 6 comes up on screen. Oh yeah, that's right. It does define Risk 5. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft has actually done some work in-house to support Risk 5. Like, I actually wouldn't. It's a... Microsoft, like, internally, Microsoft had a working ARM port for, I believe, in the Windows 7 days. I mean, they shipped... I mean, Windows Phone 7 was an NT kernel with, on ARM, so they had a port going far that back. There was Coldfire with an MMU, but it was only on very few SoCs, and I think Freescale discontinued it after a while. Yeah, Risk 5 I could see for UEFI. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft actually had done some work internally to support NTOS kernel on Risk 5. They may have also added support for .NET, because that also uses PE files. No, I didn't see Gearling's video on that. I don't even think I've seen that channel before. It's nice to know someone's actually shipping UEFI on ARM. There was a lot of pushback towards that back in the day. am here. I'm just... I think once this is done, I might pull the plug on the stream. The thing is, I don't think I'll sleep. That's kind of what drives me up a wall. So, still doesn't see the ham header files. Something that has to be built further on, which is basically the everything I need to get to a login prompt. I might end up doing the full Linux from scratch build. Right now, I'm just not really feeling it. It's almost 2 in the morning here in Greece. The problem is I'm not physically tired. I'm just mentally kind of spent. Yeah, well, seems to be a lot happier with building. than it was before. Yeah, I definitely do think I'm going to pull the plug around 2 a.m. I don't know if I'll sleep, but at least I can be lying down and on my back, which would be nice, especially as compared to sitting at a desk. Relatively short stream, but at least I streamed a little bit. Tomorrow I will do more. I definitely plan to do something with amateur radio. Yeah, my brain is totally fried. I think I'm gonna call it when this either builds or fails, assuming it's not a trivial fail to get around, because if I get the mount command sorted, Tiz would be good. Tomorrow I have Greek lessons, so it's always a bit of a long day. Alright, I'll be back in a moment. It's always interesting that, like, block ID supported stuff like Unixware. I think it still does. I've never had... I don't think I've ever tried that. I never was able to get the AI... Well, actually, AIX probably would have mounted because JFS is supported, although I don't think there was support for IBM's LVM. do think one of the things I want to take a look at doing is taking a look at Unicos. Adam Hall, thank you for subscribing. Yeah, I'll keep it up for. I'm gonna pull the plug around too. I'll pull the plug around too. I'm gonna look at amateur radio on Reddit. Make a difference from looking at our politics. God, looking at tube radios. I would never own a vacuum tube radio, but I am thinking as a birthday gift, I might buy myself a second amateur radio set. Like, I would love to be able to run a BBS on HF, and I might actually end up doing that. I might end up coding one from scratch. Like one that could work on GSK 31. Doing all the CCLDs. It's there. Oh. It's in the lib64 folder. Shit. I'm not sure why LD Tools isn't looking in lib64. I'm not convinced that is right or wrong. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I screwed up the multi-arch stuff. I'm just gonna write a note of this and then I'm calling it. I'm dead. No, it wants to be it's in lib64 unless the links are broken. The links may be broken. Fuck. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I expected. It's a linker script. Yeah, DesDIR kind of sucks, like, not gonna lie. Cross-compiling sucks. I do, you know, one of the things I do want to do is do CW. Learning Morse code is kind of on my, yeah. Okay, that was not what I was looking for. Morse Academy. Interesting. I wonder how much their courses cost. I do want to learn Morse code. Yeah, English. I definitely do think I want to do Morse. I'm just waiting to see if this actually builds. It's past 2 o'clock now, but I want to see if it gets past that. I'm probably going to have to just copy the file so it can find it. That's really what that boils down to. Because it looks like... Yeah, it looks like it wants that specific file directly. Yeah, I'm pulling the plug. Alright. This is your host and commander signing out, wishing you all a pleasant day. I'll catch you all later.